I would like to welcome Erin Poredos, who is a divorce recovery and self-love coach. Well, I can't wait to talk to you about what that is, and the CEO and founder of the Joy Tribe company. So thank you for being here, Erin. As you can tell, it's late in the day for me, so I'm already stumbling over my words. So this should be a fun one. But thank you
This,
for being here.
yeah, no problem. I get it. It's
Yeah,
like we're almost to Friday. Like let's get this
man.
done. Like we
Yeah,
want
yeah.
to, get
For
into it.
sure. I know. And, sometimes I find it's not just when I'm overtired, but when I've been thinking about too many things during the day, my mind is skipping to other things before I've even gotten the words out. And so this is something
Yeah.
I teach my clients a lot is breathing and staying present. It actually stops your mind from not working too slowly, but too quickly. And I know that's a big problem I have a lot.
It's a big problem for all the entrepreneurs in the world,
Yeah, it's true because
including myself.
we're thinking about a million things every day. And I'm so
Yeah.
glad to have you because you are a really interesting entrepreneur. I love what I've read from you online, including a really beautiful article about your
Thank you.
own experience with divorce and how you kind of came out of that. So I really want to talk about that. But first, can you just answer for me, if you would, how do you answer the question, "What do you do?" when asked?
So my company, the Joy Tribe Co., was born out of a dream, and I know that sounds very woo-woo-y, but I have been through divorce myself, and you basically get out of divorce, and it's like, who the heck am I?
Mm,
And what do I do? Where do I go?
mm,
And I actually realized that I didn't know who I was for a very long time. And I think this is very common for a lot of women, not all women, but going through divorce and just kind of living into the roles that they know to be as what they should be doing. And um, yeah, so got out of that divorce, had no idea what I wanted to do. And it took a long time for me to mentally and emotionally break that all down and why maybe it happened, and like trying to go back through things and just dealing with my own um, inner turmoil and going through my own shit, really,
yeah.
and getting to the other side. And the one thing that I wish I had was someone to support me through that, because no one understood what I was going through. Like my parents, my sisters, my like, and my friends, like they all didn't really understand. And it was, they gave such great support,
Mm.
but it wasn't the support I needed.
And your parents
Um,
are still together?
yes,
Right. So they hadn't had a
yeah.
personal experience with divorce.
Yeah, and that's also one of the things, and I'm sure we'll deep dive into it, but it is this idea that, I was trying to like live this perfect life.
Hmm.
And my parents are still together, they're still in love. But I never really saw them fight, and I never really saw things being talked about. And so I wanted that for myself. And I obviously, when you're younger, you want the relationship that your parents have. And I wanted that. So, and I was really, gung ho from a young age of wanting that dream life. And so when I found my ex partner, he basically checked all the boxes,
Hmm.
but I didn't really look past that. And so I basically got into this relationship with him, and after like year 5, I started to kind of realize that things weren't right,
Hmm.
but I kept going because I was like, this is what I know, this is what I have to be doing, this is my role in life, I have to get married, I have to like have the perfect man and the 2.5 kids and
Hmm.
all of this stuff. So I continued on, and it continued on. And through those years, I had anxiety and OCD. Little did I know, because I just thought it was my own anxiety and OCD,
Hmm.
but it was actually my body um, trying to tell me something, trying to tell me that this wasn't right and this something was off.
Interesting.
And
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
so I ended up going through, we ended up getting engaged. You know, even during the engagement, something really fell off, but continued to go through, continued to get married through a hurricane, which should have been a sign.
The hurricane happened on your wedding day?
Yeah, well, it
Yeah.
wasn't a legit hurricane, but it was like I have never seen the weather like this. With the
Right.
wind, it like almost blew everything over. Like it's quite hilarious if
If
we,
this was, yeah, if this was maybe a more if we were maybe in more superstitious times or a more superstitious place, everybody might have gone and waved their hands right there and been
yeah,
like, nope,
like
no wedding.
don't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, like but I mean, even walking down the aisle, and I think I, mentioned this in my um, explanation in my article,
Yeah,
but
which we'll link to, by the way, for everybody watching, because I really recommend it. It's a beautifully written
thank
and
you.
personal, yeah, very well written article. So we'll link that.
But yeah, so during this time, I was walking down the aisle and I literally was thinking, where can I go puke? Like, where's the garbage pails?
Wow.
Where's the exits? And like, I yet still went up, did my vows, got married, all hunky dory, whatever. And so, yeah, so, and after that, our relationship obviously fell apart. But I think there's something really important that I realized is that I never really knew myself. I never really understood the connection between, my body and my mind and just the inner knowing
Right.
that, you know, I don't have to follow what everyone else does.
Right.
And, you know, it was almost like I had to get past these points in my life in order to be successful. So after all of that and getting through divorce, I wanted to be that help for someone else. So I
Mm.
created the Joy Tribe Co. And this is a company that I started to really empower women to become the heroines of their own epic love story.
Mm.
And the reason why I coin it that way is because I'm a big fan of Tomb Raider and video games. I'm
Yeah.
a little bit of a gamer.
Yeah. Me
Um,
too, by the way. Like low key. I don't play online much, but I play the story games, the adventure kind of one player games.
those ones,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah. Uh,
those ones.
yeah, yeah. I don't really play
Um,
Call of Duty or Fortnite, but I play the
no, no,
like
no.
Last
It's
of
like
Us and
the
yeah. Yeah, those ones.
the fantasy strategy ones.
Yeah, yeah.
Anyways,
Me too. We
so
can geek out on that later. Yeah.
we yeah, we'll get the headsets on and we
Yeah.
talk. Um, but yeah, so I was just very inspired by Tomb Raider, and there was this one Halloween after I got divorced, and I actually dressed as her for Halloween, and honestly, it was the most powerful I have ever felt. And I was like,
Do you have the two guns strapped to your legs?
I did.
Yeah.
I had it all. I
Yeah.
had the braid.
Two
Um,
two guns strapped to your legs, I think would make anyone feel powerful. But that she
right?
especially is an
Yeah.
amazing character. Yeah.
Yeah, but
Mm.
it was so powerful, and I felt like a heroine, and I'm like, I got to keep this up.
Mm.
And so that's kind of where how I looked at my life from then on is like, okay, how can I get through life? I'm going to think of myself as a heroine because going through life is very much like a video game
Yeah.
because you're going through the challenges, you're going through and picking up trinkets and gifts and things that give you strength, things that, help you
Skills.
along the journey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then it helps you get to the next level.
Mm-hmm.
But you're not going to get to the next level until you fight the fire breathing dragons or the pack of men with guns. Like life is never going to be easy.
Mm.
But if you don't go through those levels, you'll never, like, what's the point of life,
Yeah,
right?
you never really
So,
level up if you don't have those challenges, sort of. It's
correct.
yeah. That's why, like in the
Yeah.
games, when you go and do all the side quests and level up, and then by the time
Yeah,
you
you
fight the
level up,
boss, it's easy.
change up your gun to
Yeah,
like get
yeah,
the ammunition, all the
yeah.
ammunition, like,
I think you can learn, yeah, you can learn a lot of life from video game. And also from my perspective as a storytelling coach, it's part of what I do as well,
yeah.
is video games are an incredible storytelling medium because
Yes.
of the sheer number of hours that you can spend in the world before the story is completed. There's so much character development. There's so much connection that you forge with the main character. I mean, it basically is you
Yeah.
in a more immediate way than like reading a book or watching a film, where we are
Mm-hmm.
empathizing with the main character, but you really are controlling that main character.
Yep.
And sometimes when I'm playing a video game with my wife, she also likes these games, and if one of us plays a level and we're describing it
Yeah.
to each other, we'll be like, oh yeah, and then our father did this, and then our sister did that. It's like we're both the same person and talking about their family, like our dad. And it's just hilarious.
Oh,
You're really living
yeah.
that
Yeah.
story. And so what I want to ask you about this idea of being a heroine of a love story, do you think that the way that we tell stories about love in our society fucks women up, for lack of a
I'm glad
less
you said the F
delicate
word
way?
first
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
because
Oh,
I
please let it rip. Yeah, if you
fucked up. Let me
I
tell you
swear, yeah,
that.
yeah, I swear a lot, and sometimes,
Okay, good.
yeah, sometimes people, get offended or whatever. But I try not to worry about it
No,
because
no,
that's the way I
no.
talk. So, okay, good. Yeah. Do you think that that happens?
Yeah,
Mm,
yes. I think, I was a very, I was a child who loved all the Disney movies. I watched all the rom-coms. I watched all the things. Um, and it was always about how, it was kind of this damsel in distress syndrome
hmm
happening, where it was always the woman kind of falling for the man and the man has to rescue her and all of this stuff. And it's just like, you know and in relationships, like, it is not exactly like that. But, you know in the what I've kind of grown up with is that, like, the man was in charge, and, the woman would, like, cook and clean. And not saying exactly my parents, because my mom did have a job and
hmm
whatever, but it is that dynamic
Right.
that, as a woman, you have to kind of sacrifice your likes and
hmm
your things that you want to do, and that's completely fine.
To
But
some extent, I imagine, right? It's like we
to
all
some
have to,
extent,
yeah, we both like, both men and women at some point can and should be sacrificing to some
yeah,
extent to make a relationship work. But if you're getting erased by that process, then you're never going to
yes,
be happy. Yeah.
yeah.
Right.
And if it's you are the one erasing yourself.
Hmm.
So it's basically just giving yourself wholeheartedly into this relationship, which is great to an extent. But it's almost, and I have done this, and I am a culprit of this, where you just lose yourself. You do what they do. You care about how they feel all the time. You want to
hmm
make sure they're happy. But here's the question: are you really happy?
Right.
What are you doing to make yourself happy? Like,
hmm
I don't remember ever asking myself that question, ever.
Right. And ironically, and I don't know what you think about this from your experience, but in my sort of opinion and estimation, the more work you do on yourself, whether you're a man or a woman, you end up making people around you happier if you are able to make yourself happy. If you're
Yeah.
able to follow your likes and your dislikes, obviously not to an extent where you're shutting everyone else out or not spending time with anyone else, but if you're able to sort of make yourself happy at a base level, then you can really be your best self in your relationship. And that's one thing I've learned. Like, I wasn't ready for a relationship until I did a lot of therapy, and like I just was
Right.
too, yeah, I was too, and I was used to be worried about being a certain way for my partner. So I was like, okay, well, if she wants a man like this, then I got to be like that, rather than this is who I am. If you like it, great. Then let's, I like the way you are. Let's stick together. If not, we'll find somebody, you find somebody else who you're compatible with. But until I really worked on myself and figured out what I like and what I want to do and how I want to be and how I want to feel and worked on that,
Yeah.
then I was able to, to be a little less, I don't know, a little less, yeah, malleable and trying to please someone else.
Yeah, and I think it makes you more attractive as a partner.
Hmm.
I think, having an idea of who you are, what you like doing, hobbies and all of that. If you have a full life, and I'm not saying like it has to be crazy packed with all of these things, but at least having a life where, the person is just coming in to add to it.
Yeah.
So you are completely good on your own.
Yeah. That's huge.
Yes. And I feel like, and not, this is not all marriages, but there is this need to race down the aisle
Mm.
and, have kids by a certain age and get married by a certain age. Um, when you rush into things like that because you need to do all these things by a certain time, you actually really don't take any time to get to know the person,
Yeah.
and really, cultivate a good relationship.
Right.
Or you're in a relationship that is you're not happy about, and it's only you're just getting by. You're like, well, this is good enough, you
Yeah.
know. And it's like, no, you know
Now,
what I mean? Like,
yeah, totally. That's an interesting thing. Sorry to cut you off. I wanted to
yeah,
ask about that. Because and this also goes back to something you said earlier about your anxiety was actually telling yourself something. And so there's a lot of work that I do in my own therapy about like, um, you know, trying to accept that your anxiety can lie to you and often is
yeah,
lying to you. So going,
yeah,
okay, right now my brain is telling me everything's fucked and you're worthless and you're a piece of shit and all those like strong messages that I get that my anxiety and my depression are constantly blaring at me. And so the work that I do with like CBT and meditation and stuff is to kind of breathe and like, think about those thoughts and go, is that true? I don't actually think that's true. Let's recontextualize that and think about it in a more positive way and maybe a more logical way, which I find like honestly sort of saved my life, not to
mm-hmm,
make it too dramatic, but it took me from
yeah.
going down a really destructive path to being on a way more productive one and a way more kind of self-loving and forgiving one. But then you were saying that your anxiety was telling you something that was wrong, and you thought it was just your own anxiety, but it was
Mm.
actually your body trying to communicate something to you. Because that's where anxiety comes from. It is a very useful thing, evolutionarily speaking. It helped us get out of dangerous situations. So when were you able to kind of go, this isn't just my personal anxiety, this is a real signal from my nervous system going, get the hell out of there?
So I didn't have that revelation, that aha moment until after my marriage and after my divorce.
Right.
Because I can't necessarily explain it to you in absolute detail,
Sure.
but basically, I knew in my heart when I was quiet that I was not supposed to be in this relationship, but I
Mm,
just didn't want to hear it.
right.
And I kept pushing it down.
So what would that process be like if you don't mind going deep into the psychoanalysis stuff? Like what were the thoughts that were coming up and how would you push them aside?
Like if something had happened and I really didn't feel that was appropriate,
Mm,
or something was said that I was not great. One of the things that I remember that I wrote in a journal, and I remember writing it as if I was trying to justify,
mm,
convince myself.
right.
And in the back of my mind, this little voice that says, stop it. Like, I remember it. It's
Yeah.
crazy. But you like, Like you stop like justifying, stop trying to convince yourself
Right.
and try to stay when you know you have to go,
Right.
if that makes sense.
Totally. It makes
Yeah.
a whole lot of sense. I've been in relationships like that before, where I justified a lot of toxic behavior from
Mm.
my partner, and just as like, oh, it's not that bad, or it's, and even toxic behavior from myself, and just going like, this is,
Yeah.
this is
Yeah.
this is just fundamentally wrong. Not that it's her fault over mine, but just like, we should not be together. So,
Yeah.
get out. But then, and I don't know about you too, but for me, it was very much, I would like make a decision, be like, I don't want to be in this anymore, and then I just lose my will. It was almost like a drug. So I would sort of like
Yep.
say, I don't want to do this, and then I would kind of relapse and go, oh, it's okay, once when moments were good.
Yeah. And I think it was more so for me that I'm like, oh, I can make this better.
Yeah.
I can make him love me more.
Mm,
I'll make this better.
right. And so, going back to this idea of being the heroine in the story, yeah, this seems like it's very much a sense of like, okay, I have a partner which I've kind of grown up feeling that I need, and been both in your family situation and the like society at large, the kind of the way that
Hmm.
we're told stories, and it creates this narrative of, marriage equals happiness. Like, they got married, they lived happily ever after. So,
Yep.
what do you how do you flip that with helping women turn into the heroine of their own story? Where are the changes?
Just knowing that they have the choice.
Mm,
It's really just being able to know yourself so well and to be able to, take care of yourself, because it's really, with the work that I do, it is all mindset work.
mm,
With the when we but we also throw in like nutrition and movement, because all of
right.
these things are connected.
For
Your
sure. Yeah.
body and your mind are connected. So when you're treating your body well and you're treating yourself, like, it all starts to, you know work together.
Yeah.
So, um yeah, it's really about women just, and maybe, they want to be in a certain relationship, or they don't want to be in a certain relationship, or they're like, I I'm not sure if I want to get married or have kids, and I'm by myself. Like, owning that, where at whatever your situation is, whatever your life is, just being able to own it and feel
Yeah.
confident in the person that they are.
Do you find that that a lot of women maybe feel too ashamed to admit to some of these feelings, if they don't know if they
Mhm.
want to have kids, or they don't know if they want to have kids yet or get married yet? Do you feel that there's like still stigma around that, even to other women, to admit?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I wasn't sure. I mean, the question is still up in the air for me.
Right.
So, I mean, I have lots of friends that have kids, and, I just, I'm okay with who I am and
Yeah.
where I am in my life. And it's almost like, Jesus, take the wheel for me at this point,
Yeah.
because I'm confident in my life and what I want.
Why
So,
don't we why don't we like allow for that, or why don't we why isn't that more kind of accepted in our society, do you think?
because I think that there are a lot of rules that we think that are, true, like the truest of true,
Hmm.
that we have to follow.
Right.
And it's about like the approval. It's approval from other people, and that's,
Yeah.
you know one of the things that I suffer from, one of the things that I'm sure many people, and it's not even just women, like it's literally everyone, that we have to be a certain way, we have to, you know be a certain gender, we have to, have certain relationships, like,
Mm.
I just wish that the world was more accepting of, and obviously I am looking through rose colored glasses, but, and I mean, we are changing,
Yeah.
but just be accepting of, if that person wants to live that way, good on them.
Yeah. Totally.
Good on them.
And, you know, not like this is maybe kind of a funny point to make, but not the least of our problems is like an overpopulation and climate change. It's like if people get fewer marriages and have fewer kids, is good for everyone. So I don't know why there's,
Yeah,
yeah, like there's
you
all this
know,
pressure on people to get married and procreate. Like, we're at a place in our history where if some people decide they don't want to do that, that's great news for the rest of us.
save
Like,
the planet,
yeah,
guys.
save the
Save the
planet, don't
planet.
have kids. There's a great book by Jonathan Franzen called Freedom. Have you read that one?
No, I haven't.
It's such a cool book. He's one of my favorite authors. Just I recommend him to a lot of people just because his prose and his storytelling and the way he gets into like the minds of his characters and the emotion, tell stories
Yeah.
about like fucked up relationships and families so beautifully. But this one is about the father of the family is a political campaigner and his main cause is stop procreating because like he thinks that that's the heart of all the problems on earth can all be traced back to too many people. Anyways, it's
Yeah.
a side note. But if anybody wants to read an amazing book, Freedom by Jonathan Franzen. So yeah, I want to ask too about this this idea about the body, the mind, the nutrition. Like this is kind of the way that I work as well, which is that you know I teach public speaking skills and storytelling skills and pitch coaching and communication. But I also teach meditation and like a bit of yoga and sometimes boxing and sometimes like push-ups. I also talk about sleep a lot, and anxiety management and CBT because I'm not nearly an expert enough in some of these fields to go too in depth. But I know from my own experience
Yeah.
and from all the research that if you're getting a good night's sleep, if you're taking care of your body, if you're taking care of your mind through therapy, meditation, and going out into nature and connecting with other human beings and taking care of these kind of basic needs, then we tend to go for we tend to make decisions that are just better for us and less
Yes.
from a place of needing to like fill something. And so for me, one of the biggest things about public speaking is when you don't feel secure and comfortable in who you are, you'll say a bunch of dumb shit. Like you'll say anything. You'll say anything to make a sale to somebody on the other end of a phone call. You'll get off track from your pitch. You can be affected by your emotions. So when you're talking to a colleague, you can say stuff out of anger or spite or jealousy or whatever those things are. And the more you center yourself and kind of work on yourself, the more sort of, clear and authentic and solid you can be. And so like, it must be so hard from a communication standpoint when love and lust hormones are flying through our bodies and these people that we're in relationships with or maybe thinking about getting in a relationship with, like that's a whole other level of communication. I don't even teach like dating stuff because it's so it's so specific. So how do you coach, and is there any part of your coaching program or your work that teaches women how to talk to somebody that they're either in a relationship or wanting to get into a relationship with? And what's your thought about why communication is so hard?
I think like the thing that I teach my clients is compassion, and that's compassion for themselves and compassion for other people.
Mm-hmm.
And with communication, it's not hard. You just have to do it.
Right.
And sometimes it's going to be, cringeworthy and you're not going to want to do it. And, but it's really about how you approach the situation and the person. If you are able to communicate in a, you know, compassionate way to another person and you're able to talk, freely about an issue that you're having or whatnot, I mean, that is going to make the relationship better. And I think we're just so afraid of upsetting someone
Yeah.
and having, them be angry with us. We would rather sit in that place. And I am a culprit of this as well. But wouldn't you want to be in a relationship that you have this, you're able to communicate with? And, it might be hard sometimes. Like relationships are not easy, whether you're
Mm-hmm.
dating or, married or
Working.
whatnot,
Yeah. Or even working with people very
or
closely,
working. Like,
which like, yeah.
really, yeah, relationships really are come down to the same things. It's just being able to, speak up and listen.
Yeah. I like that.
And
Yeah.
yeah, I
Yeah. If you
think
can,
that it's sorry,
Sorry,
go
go
ahead.
ahead. No, you, please. After you.
Yeah, it's really just, knowing that at the end of that conversation, you're going to feel better.
Yeah.
I mean, you may feel worse depending on the situation, but the fact that you have voiced your opinion about something that is, let's say, you're in a relationship and something really bothered you,
Yeah.
or you're on a date and like something goes against your boundaries
Mm-hmm.
or they've crossed it, being able to voice your opinion about that, that's going to allow some relief. And that's actually an act of self love.
Yeah, totally.
So,
And love for the other person, which is a lot of people don't think. They
yeah,
think if I say something honest and blunt and direct to them, that's an affront to who they are. But really,
yeah,
that's actually an act of kindness, I believe. It's kind to be
agreed.
honest to people. Yes, the way that you say things can hurt their feelings. It's always good to approach it, as you said, with compassion, with as much tact as you can. But to couch it, to cover it, and as Canadians, we do this so brutally. Like we're so afraid to have honest, direct conversations.
Oh, sorry, sorry,
Yeah,
sorry,
sorry. Oh,
sorry.
it's my fault. Don't worry about it. Yeah. Oh no, it's
Yeah,
fine. Yeah. And that, I mean, it drives people from other countries nuts. I know when I've worked I worked in Europe and I worked in Asia, and they'd be like, "What the hell, is wrong with you guys? You're just always apologizing for nothing." But then there's also a dark side to it, which is that we are so often crippled by this weird sense of being too polite that we don't have
yeah,
difficult conversations. And one thing
yes,
that I thought about is when you say you feel better afterwards. I usually find that you do feel better words afterwards as long as you let go of the expectations of how the other person's going to behave or receive what you're
yes,
saying. If
yep,
you go into it going, I'm going to be honest with them, they're going to hear what I'm saying and immediately change their behavior to suit what I'm asking for. And you go in and they go, well, fuck you. I don't want to do that, or I don't see things that way.
yeah,
And then if you're not prepared for that, you're like, oh, but I just came up with the most perfect argument and I just told them calmly what they needed to do. And then, but people don't work like
and
that.
they
They get,
didn't agree with me.
yeah, exactly. But if you can kind of go, okay, I said my piece. What they do now is up to them. At least I said it. Then you can feel a lot better. But if you have too many expectations of how other people receive it, that's when you can get into
Yeah,
trouble, I think.
yeah,
Yeah.
yep. I think you're very right in
Hmm.
letting go, and it's literally letting it roll off your back.
Yeah. Did you ever get to a point in your marriage where you did start having these tough conversations, or did it were you never able to do that, and then you sort of pieced it apart afterwards?
I mean, in the end of it, I started to get a little bit more confidence in myself and started to ask questions and started to voice my opinion about what bothered me.
Right.
But it was like too late. It was like,
But you
you
probably
know,
couldn't. You probably, and forgive me because I don't know the details, but you probably couldn't have saved it no matter how good you
100%.
were. Right. There's nothing you could have
100%.
done. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's an interesting thing too, is this idea that there's some people with whom you are not compatible. And again, that comes from relationships, that comes from like working with, like,
Yeah.
let's say the co-founder of your company, or a colleague at work, or a boss, or an employee, or an investor. There are these really important relationships, and sometimes you're going to get paired with somebody that it just doesn't work with.
Yeah.
And I always talk about to my clients, especially leaders who are having problems with employees of theirs, and they're trying to tell them something, but it's not working, and they say, "How? What do I do?" So
Yeah.
I say, take 100% responsibility for these conversations. Try everything you can to help this person understand where you're coming from. And they go, well, I did this, I did that. I'm like, well, at a certain point, you might just have to fire them or move them to another position. Like you have to try. You have to keep that sense of 100% responsibility. But if you've done everything, then you got to leave. But you have that
Yeah.
choice. you know you always have a choice whether to stay with somebody. There's never a situation in which you can't. Even if you have a contract, you can break it. I mean, you have to deal with legal implications, but there is nothing. You don't have to be with anyone you don't want to be, whether that's
Yes.
professional or romantic or friends, right? It's hard for a lot of people. uh you know
Yep.
does this come up in your work, where you help your clients deal with, because we talked about friends expectations, like how do women's friendships either help or hinder this kind of process that you work with?
It depends on the person and it depends on the friend, but there
Mm,
can be friends who can be really supportive
yeah.
and are, able to listen and have empathy. And then there's other friends that don't understand, so they try to help and they say certain things, and it's just like,
Try to fix your problems for you.
yeah, or
Uh.
like just says things that are off the cuff that you're like, you really shouldn't have said that.
I
Like,
didn't
I'm
like
just
that.
like,
Yeah.
please.
Right.
But you just, the funny thing is that, you know, that stuff really used to bother me. And obviously, when it was all happening, it was fresh. It was obviously really bothersome. But
Hmm.
I've kind of learned to just, like we were talking about, let that, fall off your back.
Mm,
And I remember going to like family functions, and I would be the single girl,
mm,
and all of my family are in couples,
mm,
and it hurt my heart to like be around them and
mm.
like have them but they didn't know how to, comfort me. And like,
Yeah.
I mean, they did the best that they could, but like, in the end, it's all about our reaction to the situation.
Yeah.
So it's learning how to manage those reactions
Right.
and know who you are and be confident in that, and just like, this is life. This
Yeah.
is who you are. So either you're gonna, own it, or you're gonna go sit in a corner and cry because you're
Yeah.
single.
Right.
Like, what is better for you?
Yeah. And you are your own best friend. Like that's something that's so important for me that I learned is like no friend or partner is ever going to be able to banish that loneliness that you feel with
Yeah.
yourself. You have to tackle that. And so like for me, I used to, because of like my kind of traumas in the past, I lost my brother when I was a teenager, and like I was, completely a mess. And then,
Mm.
right after that, a couple really sort of unfortunate events unfolded all within the time that I was 17 years old. I was trying to figure out who I was at the time.
Oh my gosh.
And so I really leaned heavily on my friends. And then when I would get into a relationship, I would lean really heavily on my girlfriend.
Yeah.
And I would really dump a lot of stuff on them. I was a kid, I was grieving, but like looking back on it, there was too much like save me, too much like
Yeah.
make me feel better, or just distract me, while I'm with you, kind of thing. Both with
Yep.
my friends and relationships in different ways, and um, yeah, like one but yeah, when you do that though, you also give way too much power to those people to dictate how you feel from moment to moment, right?
Yeah, and I feel like looking back, that's why I was so empty, because I was constantly looking for their approval and their, yeah, just all the things, and
Mm,
because I couldn't give it to myself.
right. Yeah, and then
So,
you have you have no agency over your emotions, because it's like if they're happy with me at that moment, then I'm happy, and if they're not,
yep,
which is totally up to them, then I'm not. And so there, yeah, there
yep,
really just is no kind of you know uh, um, control that you have over your state. Do you teach anything like meditation, Buddhism, Stoicism? Like there's an interesting through line that I kind of see through history, like with like Buddhism, kind of starting with Buddhism, then going into Stoicism, and then now with the CBT movement. There's a lot of
yep.
similarities that you can kind of trace through those philosophies, and a lot of what you're saying sounds like it touches on those themes. How do you kind of convey that to your clients?
Yeah, so we do work with a lot of really, and it's just simple, where it's breathing.
Hmm.
And we do a lot of that, and we do personal affirmations.
Right.
So being able to, be able to say to yourself, whether you believe it or not, that, I am beautiful, I am loved, I am smart, whatever that is. And the thing that I actually really love, the best, I think is the best part, are the visualizations,
Hmm.
where you're able to actually take the client to their dream life. They're living in it, they feel it, they experience it,
Right.
and it gives the client more, oomph and want to get there.
Yeah.
And it's really cool to like after the fact, not cool to see tears from my client, but it
Yeah.
touched them so much. Or I have, like, obviously I have my eyes open and I watch their facial expressions, and you see them like smile and like,
Yeah.
because you know how like pleasurable that ideal life is, or that
Yeah.
ideal person is, that they just
Hmm.
haven't got there yet. But yeah, just being able to, and I think visualizations and vision boards and, you know, starting to actually act as the person you want to be. And that goes for relationships too.
Mm.
So if you want to find a person, start being that person.
Right.
Like, start acting as the person you want to find,
Right.
with all of the things that you do and believe,
Yeah. And
because
then,
that person's going to come.
right. And then you're also, if they don't, worst case scenario, you're already living a better life anyway. So it's
100%.
a win-win.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. And it's that
So
also, oh, sorry. No, please go ahead.
no, it's that idea of creating the life that you love,
Yeah.
and then having a partner or not having a partner doesn't really matter.
Yeah. And it's kind of like that thing, the backwards law. This I think also this comes from Alan Watts. Do you know this thing, the backwards law?
Offhand, I do not.
Yeah, it's said in a bunch of different ways, and you may have heard a version of it, but
I probably have, yeah.
yeah, the I think Alan Watts's version is like, the more you try to stay afloat in a lake, the more you'll sink, and the more you kind of let go and relax, the more you float. So,
Yes.
and that's the idea. It's like the more you need someone, the more you desperately need a relationship, the less likely you are to find one. But the more you kind of let it go and go, you know what, I'm actually going to focus on myself, or I'm going to build my business or start my career. Then, I mean, at least this was my experience. Like, I found my now fiance when I was actually actively not trying to have a relationship, because I was focused so much on therapy and building my business
Yes.
and doing all this stuff. And then I met this person and I was kind of like, oh, well, here you go. Now I found this great person. I'm actually ready to like build a life with them.
Yeah.
But, all of the times where I was like, I need a girlfriend, I want to get married, I hate being alone, I'm lonely, all that time that I spent like, and like going on dates with that, probably with that written all over my face, like, and yeah, it just wasn't happening.
Your energy is everything.
Yeah.
It's funny how it works,
people
but
people
you're
can people can smell it a mile away.
yeah.
It is really interesting, and it's the same thing too with sales. I mean, when I'm or an investor pitch, if I'm talking to entrepreneurs, say like, the more you need this person to buy from you, the less likely you are to make the sale. The more you need this investment money, the less likely the investors are to have confidence in you. If you give them the sense
Yep.
of like, listen, this is happening with or without you. If you want to get on board, great. If not, I got another meeting down the street. You don't have to say these things. In fact, probably better if you don't. But that energy
Agreed.
that yeah, exactly. I don't care about you. No,
Yeah.
but that energy of like, I'm really excited about this. I'd love to give you an opportunity to do it. If it's for you, if it's not, totally cool. No worries. I'm good. That kind of energy is so infectious, and it makes people in whatever way want to kind of be around you and be with you or be on board with you. And the
Yeah.
more you can cultivate, I think one of my mentors called it like with or without you energy. So it's like the more you
Like the
can
song.
cultivate that, with or without you. Sorry.
You
Yeah.
too.
It's
Yeah. Sorry. Had to
yeah,
throw it in
sorry.
there.
Sorry. Yeah. I just sang for no reason. Yeah. Is that the point of that song? Are they singing? Is he saying
I
with
can't
or without you?
remember.
The only other lyric I can remember is, and you give yourself away, and you give yourself away. I love,
So
I
yeah,
love, I
maybe.
love breaking down song lyrics and finding out what they're all about, because sometimes you have a catchy song, you're like, this song is actually like really dark or really sad, but it's like, yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
I love
That's your
decoding
homework.
lyrics. Yeah, to go to see what with or without you is about.
There you go.
Um, and yeah, so what do you think, to end it on like a more happy note, like what are the kind of things that you find the most successful in terms of like hobbies or activities? We've talked a bit about it, but like, what are some great sort of success stories that you've seen from your clients and from yourself?
It's really that idea of, looking inside of yourself and asking the question, like, what gives you joy? And
Yeah.
it could
So
be
for
the
you,
small.
like for
Yeah.
you, what gives you joy now?
My
Video
morning
games?
workouts.
Yeah.
in video
Right.
games.
Yeah.
But yeah, my morning workouts, getting outside, being with my family, my little cat you saw running around
I
in the
know. I
background.
saw him jump up on his little jungle
It's
gym
a it's
thing.
a it's a her.
Oh,
It's a
sorry,
her.
sorry. Yeah. Sorry. I don't mean to misgender your cat, but yeah, I saw her jump up on her jungle gym
Yeah.
back there. She's really cute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, like, and these things are not huge.
No, yeah, they're
But
pretty simple.
if you fill your life with a bunch of simple things, your life is going to actually feel pretty full.
Yeah, for sure. And the things that, you think you want that seem sort of out of reach or seem super unattainable, don't necessarily, like, you hear this again and again from people. It's like once you make this money or get this famous or sell this company or whatever the goal is, there's often a huge feeling of emptiness after that.
Yeah.
And my final recommendation for the day, but the movie Soul, the new Pixar movie, did you see it?
No.
Oh
There's a
yeah,
new
it's
Pixar
I
movie? Oh
loved
my
it. Yeah, I
god.
thought it was great. Some people didn't like it, but I really did. And there's this moment where he kind of one of these characters accomplishes something they were really trying to accomplish, and then there's this moment of just like, oh, now what? Is this it?
Mm.
And then there's kind of like, yep. And so now what? What? And there's that sense of like they're really working towards this goal, and then they achieve it, and it's kind of like, oh, is that all there is? So it's like if you find those big moments that we tell ourselves are going to make us happy, they don't normally make you happy. But it's those day in, day out, simple human routines. It seems to me like for me, it's walking my dog,
Yeah.
playing a game with my fiance or just playing guitar or yeah, doing a workout and that kind of stuff accumulatedly and not wishing that your life was more exciting or different, but just like enjoying and being present in those times. That
Yeah,
is
and
usually what gives you the key.
yeah, enjoying what is. And I
Hmm.
mean, I think a good exercise for people to do, and I'm not sure if a lot of people do it, but um, creating like a vision board. What do you literally ask the question to yourself? What makes me happy in life, and what do I want?
And so this idea of the vision board, because this is interesting to me, it almost goes against the idea of being happy with what is, or maybe it seems like that to me. Like the vision board is in my kind of rudimentary
Mm-hmm,
estimation. I've
mm-hmm.
never really done one, but it's like you put the car you want, or you put some travel destinations you want, or you put some things that inspire you.
Yep.
But often there's a bit of like coveting, for lack of a better word, that's going on, right? So
Yeah.
how do you deal with that possible dichotomy of like I'm going to be happy with what is, but I want to strive for something better?
I think that you always have to strive for, and I wouldn't say something better like break your back doing it, but just to always, if there's something that you really want to do in your life, why not do it?
Mm.
Put it up so that you can see it, and obviously stay grateful, stay present in your life, but maybe do
Keep
one thing a day
Yeah,
that, puts you closer to that goal.
right. And you don't beat
So,
yourself up for not getting there sooner, but you stay on track and try to
yeah,
yeah.
because it's not going to happen overnight. The vision board is not like, I know there's a lot of people that think it's magic happening,
1 year
after
from
you go
now. Yeah.
like yeah,
Yeah.
it takes a while. Like when I talk about I had a dream in the middle of the night, it was like 3 or 4 years before I even started my company.
Mm.
So it is just good to always strive to do something more,
Yeah.
and some if you want, because then what is the fucking point of
Yeah,
life?
totally. Yeah, that's right.
And
It's like
yeah,
being sorry to interrupt, but just like being happy with what is doesn't have to stop you from going, but this also might be really
yes,
cool to do as well. And so,
yeah,
but yeah, then the
yeah,
backwards law kind of comes back into play, which is like
yeah,
if you desperately need that car or that, or to scale your company to this sort of thing, then it might not happen. But if you kind of relax and just chip away at it, then before you know it,
yes,
after a while with a bit of patience and hard work, then you kind of wake up and you're like, oh, I did it. And it's not a big deal. It doesn't have to be big trumpets, but it's like, oh, that's cool. That thing I said I
yeah.
wanted to do, maybe it happened a couple of years after I wanted it, but it's here now and great.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just having those little aspirations that you
Hmm.
can kind of look forward to and work towards, with also cultivating your life every day with things that make you happy.
Hmm.
So,
Do you have a vision board resource video thing that people can go search up something that you point them towards?
um, I mean, I have if someone wants a worksheet, I have
Hmm.
a vision board worksheet, but really all it is, I take my life in segments. So I look
Hmm.
at travel, I look at family life, I look at relationships. And like, unfortunately, there's not a lot of magazines around anymore. So
Yeah.
I use PowerPoint, and
Right.
I, do the slides. And so it's easily cut and paste pictures off the
Hmm.
internet of
Yeah.
things that, resemble something for you, or, you know, is a whatever it is.
Yeah.
So I have a picture of like a Tuscan cottage in Italy,
Right.
because I, at some point, would like to have a retreat there.
Yeah.
So,
I don't
um,
blame you.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
So,
sounds nice.
yeah. So, it can literally be anything.
Yeah.
So it's not hard. I would just set aside time where you're able to be by yourself,
Hmm.
uninterrupted. If you want to play some, lovely music in the like spa music, I
Yeah.
sometimes put on like some ambient, whatever music
Hmm.
or like that inspires you.
Something to help you
Just
get
go
in
to
the zone.
town.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really like that. You know what? I've never done one before. I'm gonna do one. Do you mind if I send it to you and you can tell me what you think?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
I would love
And maybe
that.
if I'm feeling particularly ballsy or not self doubty, I'll post it on social media. But that's kind of that scares me because I'm always worried about being being too personal on social media, which of course, the more personal you are, the more people like it. But who the
I
hell
know it's
who the hell
it
can
is
manage
it
all that?
is a wheel of madness,
Yes.
but
Yeah. So
yeah.
okay, that's amazing, and I really really like that. I'm actually going to work on that this weekend, I think, because it's kind of as much as I resist some of those kind of classic personal development things, I do find them quite interesting and helpful when I actually go through them.
They get you, I
Yeah, yeah, they
swear.
do. Yeah,
Yeah.
especially and then once you like turn 30, you stop like all the stuff that you thought was bullshit when you're 20. You're like, oh, I see the value in that, and you start to
Yeah,
like, you're
exactly. Oh,
like, what's
adulting.
happening to me?
Oh.
Yeah, this is brutal. You're like, oh, this jigsaw puzzle's really fun, and
They are.
yeah, they're great. They're amazing. Okay, so where can people find you if they're interested in your work? I'm going to post a link to that article because it's, as I said, something very interesting to read. But where can people find your website? Where can people find you on LinkedIn, Instagram, all that kind of stuff?
So my website is www.thejoytribeco.ca. You can find me on socials, which is the Joy Tribe Co. There. And yeah, I'm trying to think of where else you can find me. But if you'd like to send me an email, my email is info@thejoytribeco.ca. And
Great.
yeah,
Yeah, we'll post all the info below the video, and as well in the show notes for the podcast. But Erin, thank you
cool.
so much. This was such a great conversation. I didn't expect us to go as long as we did, so it was just really fascinating talking about all this stuff.
Loved
So
it.
yeah, thank you so much, and keep doing this awesome work that you're doing. And yeah, look forward to keeping in touch.
Okay, thank you. Thank
All
you
right.
very much. It was awesome.
Yeah, thank you, and have an amazing weekend.
Okay,
Okay,
bye.
bye.